Let's talk about Hannah White, a farmer from Willow Creek, nestled in the heart of California's Emerald Triangle. For her and countless others, finding insurance has become almost impossible. White lost her coverage from State Farm after her region suffered devastating wildfires 6 years ago. She now finds herself excluded from the state's FAIR plan, which is meant to help those who can't find coverage elsewhere. The stark reality is she's deemed uninsurable because she grows cannabis. White's story reflects a broader trend in the Emerald Triangle, which encompasses Humboldt, Mendocino, and Trinity counties, long considered the cannabis cultivation epicenter of the United States. While California legalized recreational marijuana in 2016, the federal ban on cannabis complicates insurance options for growers. With major insurers retreating due to wildfire risks, farmers are left to fend for themselves. White says she's relying on water pumps and a strong dose of bravery to protect her farm, which produces up to 600 pounds of marijuana annually. This year, California's fire season has been particularly brutal, with nearly 1 million acres scorched and over 1,500 structures destroyed. As temperatures cool, the wildfire threat looms, especially for those in high-risk areas like cannabis farms. The problem is compounded by state regulations. The FAIR plan, designed as a safety net for the high-risk properties, exclude cannabis growers due to federal illegality. A spokesperson for the FAIR plan explained that covering properties involved in the marijuana business poses unacceptable risks. As a result, many small farmers are left with tough choices: go without insurance or conceal their business from insurers, risking dire legal consequences. Former Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones argues that the FAIR plan should be providing coverage for those legal operations. The state's insurance commissioner has the power to revise the FAIR plan's guidelines, yet no changes have been made. Michael Solar from the Department of Insurance acknowledges the complexities involved in extending coverage to cannabis growers, but emphasized ongoing efforts to improve the situation. Yet, as the FAIR plan's risk exposure grows, many farmers feel abandoned. Sorry, my dog wanted to get involved this morning. The cannabis industry is already facing pressure from organized crime, high operating costs, and a saturated market. Now add wildfire risk and insurance crises into the mix. The stakes couldn't be higher. Take Jacob Sodas, a Trinity County farmer who had to abandon his cannabis business after a legal battle with the FAIR plan led to his parents losing their home insurance. After a fire in 2017, his family struggled to rebuild, ultimately declaring bankruptcy. Now Sodas is looking for work while grappling with the loss of his farming dreams. As we see, the intertwining issues of wildfire risk and insurance availability are creating a perfect storm for California's cannabis farmers. With the threat of wildfires growing, the question remains, how will these farmers protect their livelihoods when the safety net has all but vanished? I think this is definitely a very valid issue. We should talk about it. Currently, we're on fire in many parts of the state, which is unfortunate. There's crop insurance, things like that, but those aren't going to cover fire damage. So I want to throw it back to you guys and see what you think. This is definitely another unfair issue stacked against cannabis operators, especially in California.
Well, I think the insurance commissioner, with a stroke of a pen, could fix the problem by allowing insurance coverage for cannabis. And, it's a no-brainer. It should happen. And there's no reason why our struggling cannabis farmers in the Emerald Triangle, who still have this incredible genetics that have not yet made it to market, they are the custodians of the hippie trail. The hippie trail was in the 60s. Americans from all over the United States traveled all over the world and came back to the Emerald Triangle. And we're able to nativize a lot of those genetics. And so a lot of those genetics are still there. I think we got to encourage these small farmers. If you get tired of smoking the same weed all the time, you should be in favor of small farmers who have so many options waiting to be unearthed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Omar, as you know, our clients face horrible options when it comes to insurance. You have to send them out of state, or we don't have fully admitted carriers that carry policies in the state for a lot of the industry. And the wildfire problem is going to be as hard on insurance as the hurricanes and floods are in Florida. They're suffering some of the same problems. And the recalcitrance inside the government trying to fix this problem is a head scratcher. It shouldn't be a head scratcher, because we still face a lot of opposition within the government to try and fully legalize and bring cannabis into a full legal industry. And this is just one of those problems we face, because when you crunch the numbers, I mean, I recommend all my clients have insurance. But if you can't get it, or it costs so much, now it's just another tax and regulatory cost that you just can't make your business profitable. So the opposition inside government of this, you just scratch your head about, because like I say, Stevie Wonder can see how to fix this problem, but nobody seems to have the will to do it.
Mm-hmm. Dale, there's a quick question for you and Omar. So glad to have both of you legal experts on with us today. So Gavin Newsom, I want to say like a year and a half ago, he made it so social workers actually see open cannabis no different on calls than an open bottle of alcohol. Can he sign an executive order giving cannabis farms the same protections and the same access as all other agricultural products in California? This is the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world, so that is a homeland security for our state issue, in my opinion. They'll fuck up
he
our.
can't do it with an executive order, but he does work very closely with the insurance commissioner, with the insurance industry. You know, the governor's office of economic opportunity has all of the behind the scenes levers in order to make this happen. And as the article said, all it takes is the insurance commissioner to change the guidelines to allow the inclusion of cannabis in this fund. So it doesn't seem to me like a huge lift. It is doable, but it's not like executive order doable. It's more like behind the scenes, push things into place doable.
So we have to get them to care enough about it to actually do something.
Well, I mean,
and I might point out also that by law, cannabis is not an agricultural crop in California, as stupid and schizophrenic as that is, because we have the right to farm in this state. They don't want to get into that because then you can grow whatever you want and they can't do anything about it. So it's not an agricultural crop. So it creates more problems. And Omar's right. This needs to get fixed, not by an executive order. It needs to have some more comprehensive approach. And right now, the insurance situation is just killing clients. It's because you got to be insured, but how do you get it and how can you afford it?
I'm growing.
And also, wildfire management in California is a much broader question, but really, you know, we have not managed wildfires the way that the Native Americans in California used to manage wildfires actively. And fire was a part of the California landscape. So until you recognize that there's got to be fires and that they can be managed and that humans have been doing it for thousands of years and that there's something to be learned from the way we did it in the past, we're just going to be living in denial and trying to ensure. You can't insure your way out of perpetual wildfires.
Mm-hmm.
And the timber industry lobbied to stop, putting these fires out. They used to clear the underbrush and keep the fire dangers overall in check. That started in the early part of the 20th century, and we just have such a mess right now. And some of these fires get accelerated because they have the equivalent of a little seed farm out there that's just stuffed with trees that were never intended to grow like that. And that's what happened in the fire out of Magalia. It swept through, and it was so brutal because of the timber practices in this state. And Omar's right. The natives used to burn off the underbrush every year, and it kept this under control. And the timber industry says, no, we want to protect our timber. And now we've got a mess that there's no easy solution out of this right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've seen a number of people file insurance filings when they thought that their stuff would be covered in insurance. And I watched these insurance companies use every which way to not compensate these businesses and individuals. And so I feel for anyone that has to deal with them. And, a lot of times it just feels like the insurance is just a straight scam because if they're that finicky in regards when people file claims, what's the point of paying for it in the first place?
Keep it a buck. That's not just tied to cannabis. That's insurance. Period.
I've seen it in the real life. Yeah, and I've seen it but I've seen them even more finicky in the cannabis space. And so
because of the federal illegality, but the job of the insurance adjuster is to pay you as little as possible, if anything. Period.
Yeah. Well, and you should read the declarations and exclusion page first in any policy. Find out, oh, what are we trying to do here? And then, oh, how are we going to kneecap you? And know that. Because insurance bad faith is still out there. I mean, I was an insurance defense attorney for years. I've seen them, they want their money, but they pay out in dribs and drabs. And sometimes they step over the line, they need to get spanked. But when you get a policy, it's incumbent on you and your attorney to read the declarations and exclusions page and make sure that you're getting what you're paid for. Because if it says that they're going to cover it and they don't, that's insurance bad faith just as a knee jerk.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you what's good faith, Dale, is we got a big old super chat from Troy Lawrence who says, Newsom, sign the damn farmers market bill.
Yes.
And have a small bouquet. Yes. Yeah. And we also want to thank AJ's Flowers, because yesterday when we were at the network show, I got some Wagyu, you guys. I got some Wagyu chips. Courtesy of AJ's Flowers. And so since we got I'm gonna have some Wagyu.
I had a mini gout attack from them last night, man. I think they got real red meat in them.
Oh man,
I don't know what's going on. I don't have a houseboat in Egypt, so I don't live in denial. You know what I'm saying?
I have a fluka.
What's a fluka?
It's a little boat, a little boat that you kind of like ride.
Oh, a little skinamarink.
Yeah, a little. You know what I'm saying? Little manual boat. You know what I mean?
Jason Beck is not about to chew chips into a microphone right now on air into all of our fucking headphones. The level of
we got this last commercial.